Hey guys, what's going on? It is Shiny here, back with another commentary video. And honestly, I literally just got the thought for this video a couple of minutes ago, and I thought it would just make for a good discussion point. And that discussion point being, well, if you've read the title you already know, was Chapter 2 really all that bad? Now, a lot of people are going to instantly dismiss pretty much everything I'm going to say because the whole of Chapter 2 has a bad reputation. And I get that, you know. I feel like at a certain point, people were just getting bored of Fortnite, and I totally understand that. However, what I want to look into is, was Chapter 2 really as bad as people think that it was? Because in my opinion, I had a lot of fun in Chapter 2. There were some massive downsides to Chapter 2. However, there's also massive downsides to both Chapters 1 and 3, in my opinion, and that's just my opinion. It doesn't have to be yours as well. But anyways, I am going to talk about that today. I'm going to give my overall thoughts on Chapter 2, and I'm going to see if it really was as bad as people make it out to be. Starting off, I want to talk about Chapter 2 Season 1, because if I'm being honest here, it makes more sense to start at Chapter 2 Season 1 than pretty much any other chapter. I already went over like a little recap of Chapter 2 in the past, but this one's going to be a bit more critical, and it's going to be a bit shorter as well. If I'm going to give my overall thoughts on Season 1, yeah, it was cool that we got a new map, and it's the first time that it happened, but I feel like the map was just kind of boring at that stage. It was just a bunch of grass. However, I will say there was a lot of hype going into Chapter 2 as opposed to Chapter 3, as we knew that it was going to be something completely different. You know, we got mechanics like swimming, we got fishing, and overall, just the feel of Fortnite was very different. It did not feel like the Fortnite we had once known, but it felt like something new. However, I feel like Chapter 2 Season 1 was just kind of overshadowed by the fact that it was so long, and pretty much the only content we got was the harpoon gun. Admittedly, we did get a pretty cool Halloween update, not as good as, let's say, Midas's Revenge, but it was still pretty cool with like the jump scares and whatnot. I also quite liked the Winterfest update because we got a bunch of Star Wars stuff. However, the Star Wars event was kind of mid, if you ask me. However, that's just, again, my opinion. I think that Season 1, while it was very long, there was still stuff in Season 1 that I think we need to credit here. However, the unfortunate truth is that it just didn't do much for the game as time went on. I still do firmly believe Chapter 3 Season 1 did the whole Season 1 idea better, but that's just my personal opinion on the matter. Now, about 6 months after Season 1's debut, we got Season 2, and if you ask me, this is where Chapter 2 started to look a bit better. I feel like the Battle Pass Season 2 had is relatively unbeatable. While yes, I do think that there have been better skins since then, the theming in Season 2 was just off the charts. I think they did a really good job with the theming. However, I will still criticize the fact that it was just way too long. I do really like the map changes that we got this season, though. The Agency, the Shark, the Grotto. I love the Grotto, and that's probably why I really liked, what's it called? Covert Cavern from Chapter 3 Season 1. That's probably why I really liked it, because I loved the Grotto. I loved landing there and getting Brutus's minigun. I know that killing Gunner and getting his SMG was not necessarily the same, but you know, it's the thought that counts. I think Season 2 did a really good job. There were still some glaring issues. The XP was pretty terrible that season, and I do think that the servers around this time were kind of struggling quite a bit. Competitively, this was a really good season since there was a lot of like what do you call them, tournaments and shit going on at this time. I'm not a competitive player, but I do know that that was a very good thing Epic Games was doing. It was almost daily at that point. And, you know, we also got the Travis Scott event during this season. Now, I want to say this right now. Again, I don't approve of the whole Travis Scott situation, but if we can look past that, Astronomical was literally one of the best Fortnite events we've ever gotten, even to this day. Purely because it was so random. So that's already two massive pluses. Season 2 as a whole, I do think that it dragged on for quite a while. However, I would say that it was a much needed improvement over Season 1. And again, both events that we got this season were pretty good. I will say the device is definitely lower tier if you ask me, but I do think that it was still a good event. And we got 2 events in that season, so that was really good. So Season 2, already a massive, like, giant leap for Chapter 2. Season 3 was not all that memorable, if I'm going to be honest with you. I do know that it was the one with the flood, and it was pretty fun. I actually really liked this flooded map that we got this season. It was really unique. It honestly felt like an entirely new map, but then once the flood went down, it went down way too quick. I feel like this thing should have lasted like all season, and then in like the last like few weeks it all went down, or maybe it just went down slower. Who knows? And then even when it went down, we all expected cars to drop almost immediately after, but then it didn't drop until like the tail end of the season. So honestly, season 3, while it was kind of just more of a, what would you call it, a middle of the road season, like a season in between seasons that you really want to get to, I think that season 3 was still really good. I do think it's better than the season 3 we have right now. I'm gonna be real with you. Chapter 2 season 3 was much better than the season 3 we have right now, but if I'm also going to be honest, it just wasn't the best in chapter 2 at all. And I don't think it's bad. I just think that it was just okay. It was mid, I guess is a good way of putting it. So yeah, season 3, not bad, not really an improvement, just okay. Just flat out fun. Season 4, I know, gets a lot of mixed opinions. However, if you want my personal opinion, this is one of the best seasons in Fortnite we've ever had. Regardless of your take on Marvel Cosmetics today, we didn't get a lot back then. Sure, we had gotten Deadpool and we had like stuff during the Endgame LTM. However, those were only like very few. There were not a lot of Marvel skins in the game at that time. So I personally did not mind the whole Battle Pass being Marvel themed. My issue came from certain cosmetics being locked to certain skins, like Thor's hammer being locked to Thor, or Iron Man's glider being locked to Iron Man. And I really didn't like the idea of having to do emotes to get certain styles for skins. That just really annoyed me. However, the gameplay in this season and the map was just amazing. Everything else about that season was phenomenal. The Galactus event was amazing. I liked how it was kind of like Star Fox in a sense, where you were flying like the battle bus, which is kind of weird to say out loud, but it was really cool. Season 4 was really good, and that was kind of when Epic Games started like really like stepping up their game in terms of how the game was. And I guess I wasn't really thinking about what would come after this. Season 5 was, we'll get to season 5 and 6, unfortunately, but season 4 was really good. It was definitely one of the best things to come out of chapter 2, and I'm happy that we got it. I love that season to bits. I understand why you might not like it. I understand why people might have had a massive issue with season 4, but it was personally one of my favorite seasons, and I will always cherish chapter 2 season 4, probably forever. Now we have to get into what I would call the dark part of chapter 2, and not in like theming wise or anything like that, but just kind of like a dark period where the game just wasn't really fun. So it starts out with chapter 2 season 5. Now I'm going to be honest with you, the start of the season was really good. I really liked the map changes that we got at the start of the season, and I really liked all the new things that they were putting in. And the battle pass honestly wasn't that bad. I liked that we were having the Mandalorian in the game, and I think that all the skins in the battle pass were pretty good. I didn't really have much of an issue. The issue lied afterwards, when the season just kind of became contentless. The only content we were getting were skins in the item shop, and a large majority of those skins were collabs. And this is kind of where, in my opinion, the collabs kind of got into people's heads. People started to just not like collabs in Fortnite because of this season, and I personally didn't mind them. I know a lot of people are still kind of haunted from this season, but a lot of people really did not mind, or really did mind, the cosmetics in this season. I just don't see a reason to get mad. Other than Predator in the Battle Pass didn't really make much sense to me, but whatever, I will say, I think it was kind of cool to have them all be kind of 80s themed, kind of give the season its own identity, but I do honestly feel like that's just Donald Mustard's doing. I think it was just Donald Mustard wanting to get his favorite characters into the game because he can. He says that he loves Final Fantasy. Where's Cloud Strife? I'm joking, obviously, but I do think season 5 was just overall a very boring season. There wasn't really much to do in that season, and it really grew stale really quickly. However, there was one good thing that got introduced, and that was the Fortnite crew. And I think the Fortnite crew is still great to this day. So if we can attribute season 5 to anything, we can attribute it to giving us the Mandalorian and the Fortnite crew. Other than that, season 5 just was not that good. Alright, I'm gonna get through this one quick so that way I don't have to bother y'all. Chapter 2, Season 6. My least favorite season in all of Fortnite history. I personally think that this season was just dog shit. I'm not even gonna go ahead and elaborate any further because I feel like people just know that I hate the season in general. I will say it had a pretty cool opening with the Zero Crisis finale, but that's really all that it had going for it. After that, the season was just shit. The game was just horrible for like 3 months, and I just did not enjoy the game at all. I honestly felt like quitting, but you know, I had my hopes up going into Season 7. Other than that, Primal, I don't have anything to say that hasn't already been said. I really didn't like the bows, I really did not like any of the Primal guns, and I hated the makeshift weapons. I don't understand why Epic Games would do something like that, but whatever. Honestly, Primal, worst season in Fortnite history. Moving on. Okay, so now we're getting into a more positive note, Chapter 2, Season 7. My personal favorite season of Chapter 2. I'm not going to elaborate any further on this one either, because I have talked about it in the past, just like Primal. I've always put this season in a positive light. Yes, the map changes this season were pretty bad, I'm not going to try and deny that, but I do firmly believe that the map changes were better than the ones we had in Primal. If you ask me, I think the weapons that got introduced were better. The Battle Pass was leagues better. I was super excited to see Rick Sanchez get into the game personally. And I know people kind of meme about that now. Justified, if I'm going to be honest. It's quite funny seeing that. And honestly, if I'm going to be real, this season was just a load of fun. It's honestly one of the best seasons I think we've ever had in terms of Fortnite. I think that is the season that really signified Chapter 2 as not bad to me. Unfortunately, it was like right near the tail end of Chapter 2, and I just wish that we could have had more of Season 7. You know, I wish that we got just a little bit more of it. I wish it went on for just a little longer. But when it ended, it did end. I think Skyfire, I'm gonna be honest, I think it could have been better, but it was still good. And the Rift Tour wasn't bad. It wasn't my favorite, but it wasn't not bad. The gameplay of the season was just, it was just on top. I loved the UFOs. I loved the railgun. I loved the pulse rifle. I loved the inflatable, man. The inflatable was so good. I liked the abductor minigame. I just loved everything about the season. The theming was just perfect. If I could go back to any Chapter 2 season, it would be Season 7. And I think that that's what makes me miss Chapter 2 in general. So yeah, Season 7, easily my favorite season in Chapter 2 as a whole. And finally, we have Chapter 2, Season 8. Now, I'm not gonna fucking be fake with y'all. I don't remember a lot from this season. I remember that it was like the end of Chapter 2, and I know that we did recently just have it. It was the 18th season of Fortnite. I know all of that, but I don't quite remember everything that we got in this season. I know the map was kind of boring at first. You know, we only had some crashed abductors. There weren't really any new POIs, but the battle pass was really fucking clean. I think that was one of the best things, was just the clean battle pass. Was it on theme? Not really. I mean, there were a couple of themed skins, but the rest of it was just kind of boring, and Carnage was nowhere near as good as Rick Sanchez. I can't believe I'm saying that sentence out loud. It's just my opinion, though. If I'm gonna be honest with you, I think Season 8 is kind of the black sheep of Chapter 2. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't the best. It was just good. It was just a fun time. I think nearing the end of the season, it got way better. It gave us the combat assault rifle, which is one of my if not my favorite assault rifle in the game ever. And you know what? I think Season 8 was pretty good. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was amazing. I really don't think it was amazing. It had one of the best events of all time. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. You know, I just think Season 8 was a really good season. And it didn't really feel like the end of Chapter 2 until the very tail end of the season, when things really started packing out. Like, oh shit, the Cube Queen is doing a thing. We have to be careful now. And yeah, man, that worked. So if I'm gonna be honest with you, Season 8 was pretty good. I feel like it deserves more love. It was underrated as hell. I feel like people should look at it with a more positive light than a negative one. If you ask me, that's just my opinion. So, overall, what do I think about Chapter 2? Was it bad? Was it good? Was it just okay? I think it was kind of all of those in one, if I'm going to be honest with you. We had seasons like Season 1 or Primal or 0 Point where they were just not fun. They just were not good seasons. But then we had seasons like, you know, the Spy one, the Marvel one, the Alien one. Those ones I live for and I will always cherish and remember. Even if Season 2 definitely went on for way too long and had too many like extensions and too many delays and stuff, I still think Season 2 was a good season, and I still think that it should be looked upon as a good season, if I'm going to be honest with you. Chapter 2 was not bad. I don't think the map itself was necessarily bad. I just think it suffered from things like the pandemic. And partially maybe Epic Games running out of ideas. I'm not too sure. It sure feels like that's how it is now, rather than it could have been then. But I do really like how Chapter 2 ended up being. I think that it ended off on a decent note. Do I think that it is better than Chapter 3? That is the question. If I'm gonna be honest with you, it is still pretty early on in Chapter 3's lifespan. I feel like by Season 4, we'll be able to make somewhat of an estimate on as to if Chapter 3 is better than Chapter 2. But if you want me to be real with you right now, I do see myself enjoying Chapter 2 a little bit more than Chapter 3. Purely because the only good season we've had in Chapter 3 so far has been Season 1. Whereas the good seasons we would have had in Chapter 2 up to this point would have been both Seasons 2 and 3. So if you ask me, Chapter 2 is already winning. We still haven't seen Season 4 and Chapter 3. And honestly, if we compare all of this to Chapter 1, I mean, I don't even want to talk about that right now. I really don't. That's for another day. But if you want my complete unorthodox opinion, I will say Chapter 2 was not bad. And I feel like with Chapter 3's current state, that Chapter 2 is and was better. So that's going to be that. I'm going to end this video here. I'm going to leave my opinions here. And I really hope that y'all, you feel free to disagree. Feel free to make your own opinions. Feel free to just have your own thoughts, man. Don't base your thoughts off of someone else's thoughts. Make your own opinions. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.